Hello, everyone. Okay, so today's video, let's add on to what we did yesterday with learning the basics of numbers by talking a little more about how these numbers function in the contexts of sentences that we will translate this chapter. So people might be wondering, what is the vocab quiz on Friday? It's not going to be on the vocab of the chapter. Instead, it will be 10 questions, and it'll be basically these guys. It'll be numbers 1 through 20, okay? 1 through 20. And they can be cardinal to the left, where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, or ordinal to the right, where it's like first, second, third. So either could be showing up. So technically, there's like 40 words that could show up on the quiz, but it doesn't feel like it's actually that difficult because like I was saying in yesterday's video, I feel like these are pretty straightforward as far as like remembering them. Even if you never did any French or Spanish as a kid, these words are just their stems show up all over our language. So unus for one, like unicycle with one wheel, uniform for one form that you wear. Do you wear a form? And then primus is first, the ordinal version of this. Duo for two. What else would it be? A duo is a word for two people in English. Secundus, it means second. Go figure. Tre, well, it looks like three, kind of, right? And tertius, I feel like people could maybe, like, what else would tertius be? In this context, if you know it's a number, you just have to remember that that is the ordinal version. That means third versus tre's three. Okay. Quatuor for four versus quartus for fourth. All right. So the worst thing I'll do on this quiz is like potentially put both quatuor and quartus, but it'll be matching. So like if I'm just putting the ordinal version of a number, you're going to be able to differentiate. Like if I put tertius and I don't put tre and third is an option, I think you're going to figure it out. But where you could run into issues if I put like an ordinal and cardinal version, and I would want you to tell me that quatuor is four, whereas quartus is fourth, and hopefully you would be able to do that. Quinque is five, and quintus is fifth. Basically, you're looking for like if it ends in the US like that, and on the quiz, I'll probably put it as quartus, quarta, quartum to make it extra clear. Septum, septima, seven, seventh. Octo, octavus, eight, eighth. Novum, nonus, nine, ninth. Decim, decimus, 10, tenth. And then I'll put maybe one or two of these. I probably won't put ordinal versions of these, honestly. This is 11 through 20. The hardest ones are the three at the end. Undecim, it's un plus decim, or unus plus decim, it's 11, and so on and so forth. Like if you know 1 through 7, you'll be fine on this. I could maybe see you getting 16. You might get 16 mixed up with 7, but I won't put both 16 and 17. But 18 and 19 are a bit weird. Duo de vigenti, it's like 2 from 20. Un de vigenti is like 1 from 20. Whereas vigenti is 20, and that is the only one that has basically no related words. I won't put things like trigenta for 30. I might put quintum. It's pretty easy, right? All right, okay, but like getting on to what I was wanting to talk about in this video is the grammar of these words. As I mentioned, the number 1, 2, and 3 and melee for 1,000 means 1,000, not a million, for a weird reason. Those are the only ones that decline. And what does decline mean? It means they change their endings to reflect a case. But we shouldn't really get hung up on it. I don't expect you guys to memorize every single one of these. You'll probably be able to figure out what case they are, just fine. Because all the other numbers don't get declined. They just show up how they it's going to show up like quatuor or quinque or octa. That's how it's going to show up in the sentence. It's not going to take on some new form. But technically 1, 2, 3, and 1,000 do. So the reason melee to the right, to the upper right there, means 1,000 and not million is because million comes from an Italian word that means milione, which is a big 1,000 is what that means. One is like this, it's the opposite of a diminutive. It's like something at the end of a word that means it's a bigger version of that. So that leads to some confusion. But okay, how do these show up? Like I said, unless it's 1, 2, or 3, they're not going to decline. And even if it is something like 3, sometimes it won't decline. In this first sentence, tre pueri, duabus puellis rosas dederunt. So dederunt at the end, don't get thrown off on that. It just means gave. It's the perfect tense version of dodare, dodare dedi. So how many boys gave something? It's 3 boys, right? So tre there, it's going next to pueri, and there's nothing like, I mean, technically tre is in its nominative form. So I was going to say there's nothing telling us it's going with pueri other than the word order. But this is actually, like, usually we disregard word order in Latin. This is a case, though, when numbers show up, where word order usually is going to be the thing that indicates, like that 3 is going with the word right next to it. And then duabus, it's kind of weird, but is that 2? Is that 2 in an ablative or dative? It is, in fact. So maybe the 3 boys gave, what did they give? Rosas? Roses, right? And they gave them two girls. Duabus puellis. So duabus and puellis, they don't look like they have the exact same endings, but that is and that abus should both make us think ablative or dative plural. And in this case, dative, because those are the indirect objects. This next one, octo pueri, decim puellis, libros, dederunt. So now how many boys gave something? It's going to be 8 boys gave. What did they give? They gave libros, okay, books. It's not liber. Libera is free. But they gave books. Who they gave them to? Maybe decim puellis would be 10 girls. Yeah. So decim here, it's one of these numbers. It doesn't decline, like most of them don't. So how do we tell it's going with puellis and not pueri? Kind of just like word order. Octo is right next to pueri. And if you take those together, like it can't be 8 boys and 10 boys at the same time. So it has to be one of the others. And it must be 8 since 8 has happened, like showing up first. And then decim shows up after that, and then it's next to puellis, which is plural. So it's going with girls, even though there's nothing about decim that like screams out to us as though it's dative. It just that it's next to a noun that is plural, and you can kind of put it together. Unus vir, only one man, venit at the end, venit came, one man came, cum quatuor amicis. Cum quatuor amicis. He came, cum, with how many amigos? Came with 4 amigos. Okay. Again, quatuor, we just kind of use common sense to understand that as going with amicis. Consul cum quintum. The consul came, cum quintum viris. He came with 100 men. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. So that's like, so most of the times numbers are showing up. It's just pretty straightforward like that. But we do have this thing called the genitive of the whole. I don't need you to know that term, but technically this is this is the third thing genitives can do. So far, genitives have mostly been possessive. They also can sometimes be a genitive of description, like a man of fortune or like a woman of wisdom or something. But now we have this third thing where it's coming after pars, and it's kind of like we haven't seen too much satis, but satis means enough, like enough of something. It's kind of just like that. So pars urbis would be part of the city. Nemo amicorum would be no one of the friends, but that sounds a little weird. So you could say just none of the friends and treat Nemo more like nullus. Nihil temporis, nothing of time. Sounds weird, so you can drop the of. Satis eloquentiae, enough eloquence. So the lesson here is that sometimes you will treat the genitive like it's a normal genitive and get an of into the equation. But if that sounds awkward, you can just drop the of. But these don't show up too much, so I would not dwell on that, and I won't. And the last thing we have is this new kind of ablative. So we just introduced ablative of means, manner, and accompaniment, which we will review. Oh gosh, I need to review the quiz. I'll do that. Well, I'll do that. That'll be how I start the stream. I'll start the stream tomorrow going over the quiz, and then I'll go over the numbers one more time and talk about the quiz, and then we'll check the homework really quickly. But that'll still all take like 25, 30 minutes. Still shorter than a normal class. But this ablative of the cardinal number thing, this is when we'll have a number show up, and then X will be right after it, and then we'll have an ablative, and it'll mean number of the ablative, whatever the number is, like insert number here. So whereas we have usually translated X as more like from, or maybe from out of, or out from, or something, you're going to translate it here when it's between a number and to its left and an ablative to its right as just of, because that's just what sounds good in English. So this first one, Trey X amicis meis. So it's how many of meis amigos? 3 of my amigos. So you could say like 3 from out of my friends, but that sounds kind of weird, right? So just say 3 of my friends. So this is a case where we use of, but we don't actually have any genitives. This is just a number, then the ablative, the preposition X, and then an ablative. But you want to translate it as of. Quinque ex eis. Eis is just that kind of nasty plural third person personal pronoun. So it's not he, she, or they. It's kind of they. It's them. So quinque ex eis. 5 of them. Quidam ex eis. Quidam must be a new vocab word. It's certain of them. A certain one. Okay, that makes it sound better. Centum ex viris, 100 of the men. Let's add that article in there. We don't say 100 of men. And pauci ex amicis is a few of the friends. So it doesn't have to be. It's usually be a number, but it technically could be something like pauci, like few. I guess quidam, but I don't remember saying quidam too much. Ablative of time when or within which. Okay, so we get, oh my gosh. So now we have 5 ablatives. We're very rapidly up to 5 ablatives. I will review those heavily when we get back from spring break. Oh man, do we really get this? Okay, all right. This is when a period of time shows up in the ablative, and you're going to want to add. So with ablative means we had to add with out of thin air, just like kind of based on the fact that we had no preposition. Here is another ablative where we won't have a preposition, and you will need to add at, on, in, or within, depending on like what the ablative actually is and what sounds good in English. So eo tempora, eo is just doing that thing where it's basically hoc or illa. So it's that time or this time. And then the rest of it, I'll just say is like I was not able, non patram, or I could not, fakara id. I could not make it. So how do we say? Do we use at, on, in, or within with that time? Do we say on that time? Not really. In that time, maybe within that time, like yeah, could work. But I'd say at that time probably works the best. This next one's crazy, so I'll just agricolae, like farmers, bonis anis. Okay, anis is in the ablative plural, and it's that word for years. So we just have this like good years floating in the middle of the sentence. So you want to add like in or maybe within good year, or within's weird actually. In good years, the farmers are well or strong. Walebunt will be well. Actually, that's future. Whoops. So yeah, in works there. You just kind of have to like try one of them out, but that's something you would need to take notes on. Aistate lubebant. We don't have that verb. They were playing in the summer in for aistate. Paucis oris. We don't say on a few hours. We say in a few hours. All right, and there's the vocab for the chapter. Okay. They're not going to show up in the vocab quiz. It's going to be a numbers quiz exclusively. 10 numbers from 1 through 20, cardinal or ordinal. And what else was I going to say? There's going to be a huge math equation as the bonus. An actual math equation written out in Latin. It's going to be great. Plus and minus for Latin words just means more or less. All right. Let's look at, okay, this is my party of 6. I actually chose to not go with an abra. Pretty crazy. Cyrus's dying words. Let's do this real quick. Mei filii tre, non debetis essa miseri. Mei filii tre. How many filii is this guy talking to? This is like a dad on his, well, I don't know. This is kind of like a depressing story, but he's talking to how many filii? To 3 sons, right? My 3 sons, non debetis. You should not, essa miseri, you should not be miserable. Interesting. What's going on here? Ad mortem inem nunc venio. Okay, venio is first person singular. Venivici said pars mei. Pars just means part. Animus mea semper remanebit. Ad mortem. What does ad mean, guys? Think. It means to. So to death. NM just means in fact. Is NM new? Let's go back. No, NM, it's just one of those kind of silly extra adverby conjunction-y kind of things. It just means like in fact or indeed. Um, okay. In fact, to death, nunc now, vinio I come. Oh my gosh, said, but pars mei, part of me, because mei there's genitive, so that can go. Pars will usually have a genitive showing up right next to it, as in part of whatever the genitive is. Part of me, animus meus, my spirit, semper, always, remine, bit with a bi, will remain. Um, yeah, we could change the word order there, but I actually kind of went left to right and didn't think it sounded too weird. Doom is while, but tomb is then, doom is while. While eram is the past imperfect tense of sum. So if sum means I am, eram is I was. While I was, vobis cum. Just think of it as cum and vobis separately. Vobis is the second person plural thing. It's not quite you, that would be te, but instead is y'all. While I was with y'all, animum non videbatis. Videbatis is imperfect past tense, second person. So it's like y'all were non, not seeing the spirit. While I was with y'all, y'all were not seeing the spirit, said, but ex factis meis, from my deeds, like from the things I did, intelligebatis, y'all were understanding. Am here is usually him, but he's not the spirit. So I think we want to say it actually. It's just that animum technically is masculine. You know, we're understanding it to be essa in hoc corpora in this body. While I was with y'all, you used not to see my soul, but for my deeds you used to understand it to be in this body. So I'm using used to here, and I leave what the slides are. That's fine. That is the rare way to translate an imperfect verb. Usually imperfect verbs are just mean was or were verbing or verbed. But every once in a while, used to verb sounds kind of good. I don't know why. I think it sounds fine as just was or were, but let's go with the slide. Credita. It's from credo creditor. I don't think you'll have that verb. It means believe. Believe, therefore, the spirit to be animum essa. Iundum. Iundum is a horrible word that actually just means the same. To be the same post mortem, after mortem, death. Post mortem, that's like a term that's still used in crime scene shows. Even if at TMC, am non videbitus, even if y'all will not see it, I won't see my spirit anymore, but it's going to be the same after death and always conserve me in your memory. That's kind of cool, I guess. I mean, it's a little dark, but this guy has a positive take on, I guess, like the afterlife, sort of. Interesting, very interesting. All right, guys, we got a lot of good stuff to do efficiently and relatively quickly tomorrow. Try to come to the stream. You know, I'm not one to, if I don't have to wake up early, maybe I'd avoid it, but it seems like we should at least stream one time this week. And after we do that, you study a little bit for the quiz. I mean, coming to the stream will be a way of prepping well for the quiz. And then you take that quiz on Friday and you're done with Latin for 9+ days.